Dustin Poirier is about to have this trilogy with Max Holloway. This is a pretty good fight. And obviously, we're ready to go here. Tony's got his New Orleans Saints jersey on. I got my Baltimore Ravens jersey because we've won championships there and we own that city. And without further ado, get the MMA here. Carly Judice taking on Nicole Cagliari. I'm going to go with Carly Judice. I'm going to keep it short and simple. I think she's just going to get a win in her hometown. Women's MMA fashion going into the decision 29-28. Carly Judice.
Yeah, I didn't know, what's her name? Carly Judice was from Lafayette or Louisiana before this video. But I recently figured it out, and it did sway me a little bit. But in a women's MMA fight, I feel like it's majority a 50-50 coin toss. Carly Judice is the superior striker in this matchup, where Cagliari is more of a grappler. Usually I favor grapplers in women's MMA. Just it seems like the fight goes there more often. They're able to keep it there a little bit more and minute win. And women's MMA, you don't really get a finish on the feet. Whereas on the ground, you can kind of stall easier than you can on the feet. Carly Judice, that being said, did get a knockout in her last fight against Eunice Dubin. But Eunice Dubin is very wild and there to be hit. Very much like just kind of like a brawler of a fighter. When she connects, it definitely hurts. But Carly Judice is technical. I think Cagliari is going to take this fight to the ground. The robberies, I think, might come later on in the card. But for the early prelim opener, a fight where nobody's really going to be in the audience, I think there's less appeal, or less need to appeal to the Louisiana audience since nobody's really in the crowd. And maybe there is a robbery. I'll leave it up in the air, but I'm going to go with my original prediction, which is Cagliari by decision, a grappling-heavy approach.
First fight of the night in New Orleans. I actually picked against Carly Judice in her last fight against Eunice Dubin, and she was able to get a first-round KO. She was able to take the power shots from Dubin pretty well and able to get a head kick. Cagliari, I saw her on the Contender Series. She's not bad. Neither fighter has ever been knocked out in their career. Carly Judice has only lost 2 decisions to Gabriela Fernandez, who pulled off the upset against Kong Wang earlier this year. And she lost to Ernesta Caraquete, who also Cagliari lost to. I'm going to go with Carly Judice, though. I think she's the more technical striker, and I feel as though if Cagliari isn't able to get this fight to the ground, like, the gap is going to be very visible on the feet. The reason I picked Dubin was because she had knockout power, and I figured if there's a wild exchange, she could get the better of Judice. But Judice showed good patience, good range management, and the ability to lock in and get a crucial strike when she needed to. I feel like if it stays on the feet, she'll pick her apart, maybe even get a late finish. But I'll go with a decision win for Carly Judice in New Orleans.
Alrighty, moving on. Bruno Ferreira taking on Jackson McVeigh. If I'm not mistaken, Jackson McVeigh was supposed to fight Cedric Dumas, right?
I believe so.
Well, originally I was going to go with Bruno Ferreira, but I think I'm going to go with the underdog here. I think I'm going to go with Jackson McVeigh. I think his height and range is what gives Bruno Ferreira problems. He lost to a guy like Abbas Magomedov, who was tall as shit and decent striking and all that. Jackson McVeigh have I seen so far in his resume, he has great, he has knockout power and submission, it looks like. But normally I don't like trusting like people that haven't gotten signed yet, but I'm gonna trust in this one. I think he's gonna beat Bruno Ferreira. Bruno has had problems against that type of size gap. Nursultan Ruzaboyev also gave him some issues. I think people around Jackson McVeigh's frame and reach give Bruno Ferreira problems. I'm gonna go with second round KO for Jackson McVeigh.
Yeah, I have to go with Bruno Ferreira on this one. I don't trust a lot of people coming into the UFC, as Mike alluded to earlier. I looked through some of his the people he fought back when he was booked to fight Cedricus Dumas, and nothing was really impressing me. A lot of negative records on his career. I believe he's undefeated, but most of the people that he's fighting have very cannish records, 12-12, 4-12, and very bad like regional records. Some of them are okay. I think the best one I saw was like a 16-6 or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't feel like he's been tested to the same level as Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira got RoboCop in his debut and knocked him the fuck out. You know, people forget, man. And you know, he has had problems with people bigger than him. I think that's just going to be the way of it. Him is going to be. He's a small middleweight who's very stocky. But I also think he learned how to kind of combat that. Like, he's always been a middleweight, at least when he's been in the UFC. There's been moments where he struggled with the long-range fighters, but there's also, every time he wins, it's pretty much against somebody bigger than him, you know what I mean? Or somebody longer than him. And I don't trust somebody coming in from LFA to beat him, let alone finish him. I think Bruno Ferreira is pretty good. I think you got to get him tired in order to finish him, and I think you got to put a pace on him. And I just don't trust a guy coming in from LFA on short notice that we didn't really hear about. Like, nobody was really touting him up until he was supposed to fight Cedric Dumas. Nobody had heard of him. Now he's supposed to fight Bruno Ferreira, who's a bigger step up than even Cedric Dumas was. And I think Bruno Ferreira is legit. You know, he's knocked out people that are close to the rankings, such as Gregory Rodriguez. And I don't really see Jackson McVeigh being able to take him down or take the fight to the ground like that. Bruno Ferreira is very stocky, good takedown defense. And I'm going to just trust his judo and his boxing over whatever Jackson McVeigh wants to throw at him. I'm going to go Bruno Ferreira by, I'm going to say finish within 2 rounds, either a KO or a submission. I think Jackson McVeigh could look good early using his range, but I think Bruno Ferreira's UFC experience is going to show. He's fought, you know, decent people on the Brazil regional scenes compared to the mid you find on American regionals, and he's just been in the UFC. So I'm going to go Ferreira, second round TKO. I'll go.
Interesting fight. Jackson McVeigh, as Mike said, was supposed to fight Cedricus Dumas, but Dumas wasn't able to make the fight, so he now has to fight Bruno Ferreira. I actually picked him in his last fight. I think I got him as an underdog against Armin Petrosian. And it was looking sweaty, I'm not going to lie. Because the thing with Bruno is his gas tank isn't the best. But as well as his size, like, he's not the biggest middleweight and he doesn't have the best gas tank. But he's dangerous on the feet with his power, and his grappling is good. I think he can defend takedowns. He can wrestle. He's got a bit of a judo background. I think Bruno Ferreira is a pretty well-rounded fighter in his own right. It's just his durability isn't the best, as well as his size. I don't really know too much about Jackson McVeigh. This is going to be his UFC debut. Against Cedricus Dumas, the line was like near pick'em. In this fight, I don't know if I would price Bruno Ferreira minus 650, but he's along those lines a huge favorite. But I look at the wins he has. You know, he beat RoboCop. RoboCop, as we just saw against Hermanson, like, he's a intimidating presence at middleweight. He's not small. He can grapple. He's got kicks. He got punches. He can wrestle. He's a pretty solid fighter. He was able to beat him. He was able to beat a more on-paper technical striker in Armin Petrosian. And I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira. He is a finish-heavy fighter. His gas tank isn't great, so he's going to want to do good early and probably finish the fight early rather than get into a war late. I just don't know too much about Jackson McVeigh, so I think the only advantage I could probably give Jackson McVeigh is probably cardio, reach. I think McVeigh's best option is to try to extend the fight as much as possible and try to fatigue Ferreira. But I think Bruno, having UFC experience, I think he's going to know ways to cut angles, to cut the distance, to take away the reach of McVeigh. And I think he'll do what Alex said. I think he might get a finish within the first 2 rounds. I'll go with a I go with a round 2 knockout. I go to round 2 knockout for Bruno Ferreira.
Ryan Spann taking on Lucas Bursky. It's hard. It's a tough fight to pick because they're both fucking horrible. But I'm gonna trust in Ryan Spann here to get a first round KO. Lucas Bursky is complete dog shit. It's so fucking difficult to pick this fight, man. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ryan Spann. I'm gonna stick with Ryan Spann. Bursky's record is way worse than Ryan Spann's. It's a difficult fight. It could go either way, but like I said, I think this should be one of these fights where Ryan Spann actually looks good in a fight.
Yeah, I have to go with Ryan Spann as well. I think he's just better. He's the former light heavyweight. I think he is probably going to hit a club and sub. There's not a lot for me to say here. Bresky's pretty ass. Yeah, I mean, he's had moments like against Walter Walker, but I think that's mostly Walter Walker showing up fat and retarded more than Bresky being good. And I just think Ryan Spann, if he shows up, can probably hurt him and sub him with a guillotine. So that's my pick. I'm going to pick like first round club and sub with the guillotine.
Ryan Spann lost his last fight to Waldo Cortez Acosta, I want to say. And Lucas Bursky, he's not that great at 9-6. Neither fighter is really noteworthy, but I just think the danger early on with Spann is more prolific than it is with Bursky, so I'll go with Ryan Spann as well. On paper, I think he's got a grappling advantage. Early on, I reckon he's probably more dangerous with his speed and his timing and his power. So I'll go to Ryan Spann. I'll want to bounce back here. I'm just torn between knockout and submission. I could see a club and sub. I could see a knockout resulting in ground and pound. I don't think very highly of Ryan Spann, but he did knock out Dominic Reyes, who I do rate. So I'll give him credit as far as that. Early on, he's got speed and power. Torn between KO and sub. I'll go with a first round club and sub.
Moving on, we got Jimmy Crute taking on Martin Prachnio. Another tough fight. Both really fucking horrible, but I'm gonna go with Jimmy Crute. I think he's gonna KO Martin Prachnio. Martin Prachnio's shit. Not really else to say about that. And I would venture to say, I would hope to say Jimmy Crute is better than I don't know. I think he's better than the wins that Martin Prachnio has had in his last 5 fights. Prachnio beat Devin Clark. He beat William Knight, but I don't see Jimmy Crute going out like those two. I'm gonna go with a Jimmy Crute by KO.
And you know, I picked Jimmy Crute in his last fight, and it was a draw against Rodolfo Bellato. I kind of picked him to have improved and to look like a better fighter in the time he took off and to improve his boxing. And he didn't at all. He looked like the same old shit Jimmy Crute. I don't think he improved at all in his time off. That's what his fight with Bellato showed me. And I think he grappled not enough in that fight either. I think he wanted to bang it out on the feet too much, and I think that's a game Prachnio wins. I'm going to be honest. I think that's going to be one of my big underdogs on this card is going to be Prachnio. I think at this point in Jimmy Crute's career, he's just ass. Like, he's sloppy on the feet, and he doesn't really shoot takedowns like he should. And Prachnio's got pretty decent takedown defense. He is noticeably chinny. Prachnio is super chinny, and that's why you always got to be careful when you pick him. But on the feet, he's actually a very, very good kicker for light heavyweight. I think he's going to be able to kind of kick at Crute's legs and body, keep him at range early. I don't think Crute will know what to do. I don't think he's improved at all. I think the leg is there to be chopped, and I think Pragnio knows that. I think the leg kick is going to be a huge weapon for Pragnio, along with many other kicks that he sets up after the leg kick. But I think it's going to be one of those fights. He deadens Crut's leg, by the second round, and Crut's just shooting for his life at that point, but it's probably too late. I'm going to go Pragnio by either later TKO by just kind of like wearing damage, like a leg kick TKO, or a decision. I'm going to go with decision Pragnio, just kind of controlling the fight on the feet, and Crut's too stupid to know how to check a kick or shoot a takedown when he needs to.
Tough fight. Jimmy Crute, I would say, has the grappling advantage going into this matchup, and I would say Martin Pragnio has the striking advantage going into this matchup. Two polarizing styles. The fight seems very binary. It feels like if Crute grapples, Modestas Bukauskas, I want to say, submitted Martin Pragnio. So if that's a striker being able to get a submission against a striker, I'd like to think on the ground Jimmy Crute should be able to have a clear advantage. But that being said, Crute is definitely hittable. You are able to capitalize on big moments against him on the feet. It's a tough fight because it really is based on, does Crute get takedowns? If he does, I feel like he can look like the clearly more dangerous fighter who's able to control the fight on the ground. If Pragnio is able to defend the takedowns, keep it at range, he can pick Crute apart on paper with straight punches and kicks. It's a tough fight. I don't really know what to make of. I don't really trust either one's durability. If Pragnio's on the ground getting like punched a lot, I don't know how long he can take that. He is the older guy. Crute, I never trust his durability. We've seen him get dropped so many times. It's a tough fight. But I'm gonna go with Jimmy Crute in a decision win, where he's able to get his takedowns. He's able to not completely neutralize the leg kick of Pragnio, but do at least an okay job of checking some of the kicks, getting out of range out of some, being able to pressure Pragnio up against the cage if he's not even able to get the takedowns, just ride him up against the fence, gets his total strikes and things along those lines. I think Pragnio is going to want to keep the range in this fight. He's going to want to almost keep it a little too perfect, everything in front of him, and Crute's just going to smother and be able to close the distance and make it ugly, where striking technique isn't exactly a huge factor in the fight, where it's more about total strikes, control, takedown attempts, and even submission attempts if he's able to get him to the ground for long periods of time. I'll go to Crute decision win. I think it'll be a close decision win for Crute, where they value control time and total strikes over significant strikes and damage.
Moving on, we got Adam Fugit taking on Islam Dulatov. I'm going to go with Islam Dulatov. Fuck. I'm going to go with Islam Dulatov to knock out Adam Fugit. Fugit is obviously shit. Never was really good. And Islam's just gonna take him out of there. I'm gonna go with first round KO by Islam Dulatov.
Yeah, I agree with Mike here. I think Islam Dulatov is gonna smoke the fuck out of Adam Fugit. I think Adam Fugit, he's been in the UFC already for too long. He's kind of just like a lamb to slaughter. Contenders like Dulatov that are coming into the UFC. And that's kind of the purpose of Fugit, if we're being real. He's not going to win this. He can be well-rounded. I think he beat a Korean prospect coming out of the, or a Japanese prospect coming out of Kinoshita Contender Series, but this is different. He's not fighting some coming off the Contender Series. He's facing somebody who's dangerous and somebody that's probably going to fucking destroy him, if we're going to be real. Dulatov is very technical and very fierce striker. He kind of has like a some parts of it, like the ferociousness, kind of reminds me of like Pereira when he like goes after an opponent. He strikes like when he goes a little bit more like Adesanya, like kind of like the way Adesanya boxes. Definitely more like straight punch oriented. Like he's got a real bag to him, and I like watching him fight. He looks really good from what he's seen, even though it's kind of bums. He's very, very good on the feet, and he's kind of got a like a marketability about him too. He was like a former model for Gucci and Versace and all these other things, so he's got like a story to him. He's represents Germany, which you don't have a lot of fighters doing that. He's from Chechnya, Russia, but he represents Germany. He's a very, very, very good striker, and it's going to be a first round KO. I'm almost certain of it. Who gets a lamb to the slaughter, and I'm pulling for Dulatov hard to be like a contender later on. I like when like strikers come up and we have like exciting fights between strikers and we're able to get good knockouts. So I'm pulling for Dulatov hard. I think he wins first round KO, and I hope he does great things later on.
Yeah, I think we're going to make it a clean sweep. I'm going to go with Islam Dulatov as well. From what I've just seen on his Tapology, a majority of his wins are within the first 2 rounds. He seems to be a very dangerous fighter. 11-1 record, 6'3", 75 reach at welterweight. Those are pretty good intangibles to have in this weight class. He's only lost by decision, so he's never been finished. He's got the confidence. He's got momentum. As Alex alluded to, I think Adam Fugit is a bit of a stepping stone in a lot of guys' careers. So I think Islam Dulatov gets this one done. He's a clearly sharper, more just dangerous overall fighter, power, speed, everything. I'm going to go with a first round knockout as well. It could be a multitude of ways. It could be via punch, kick, elbow, knees. Literally all of his limbs are weapons, it seems. So I'm going to go to first round knockout for Islam Dulatov.
Damn. That is a fucking big-ass name. Ateba Gauthier. Whatever the fuck his last name is. Taking on Robert Valentin. I'm going to go with Ateba by KO here. I think he's going to smoke Robert Valentin. Valentin hasn't really impressed me much. It was quite unfortunate what happened to him against Torrance Finney. Pretty much got humped on for 15 minutes straight. Didn't get any damage absorbed in that fight. Hence why he's coming back after a short turnaround. I think Ateba's going to KO him though. I'm gonna go with second round TKO by Ateba.
And I also have to go with Ateba Gauthier. I think this fight will be a lot of fun though. I don't think it'll be super long. I think at some point he's going to sleep Valentin, but I think it'll be fun scrap where both fighters like are aggressive towards each other and probably clip each other. I think Gauthier is more technical and he's more powerful, which is a recipe for disaster against somebody who's also wild. Gauthier isn't really wild per se, but he loves a firefight and he likes to get in there and fuck people up. Whereas Valentin sometimes likes to go into the fire too much. And I've seen him get clipped on the Ultimate Fighter a couple times by the Irish guy. I think Paddy McCrory is his name. I saw him getting clipped by him a couple times on the feet. And he doesn't really have the best defense. And I think when you get Gauthier's power and he's able to land on you so frequently, it's going to be bad. I think it'll be a fun first round. But by the end of the first round, beginning of the second, Gauthier will probably sleep Valentin or TKO him. I'm going to say end of the first, Gauthier, left hook, KO, first round.
Tony?
Yeah, I think it's going to be another clean sweep. I'm going to go with Ateba as well. I think Mike and Alex said it best. He's got the power advantage, the speed advantage, the overall better athlete, more technical. Robert Valentin, I think, wants to get this fight to the ground. Ateba wants to keep this standing. I think Valentin's in for a knockout. I think Valentin's a better fighter than Ateba's last opponent. Overall, he's a better fighter than I think it was Gilbert Medina, something along those lines. He's a Bolivian fighter. I don't know if that's the exact name, if I got it right, but it was something like that. And he's a better fighter, but I don't know if he's as durable. I think Ateba is just going to be too fast, too quick, too dangerous, too powerful. So I'm going to go with a Ateba, first round knockout. I think this is just going to be a lamb to the slaughter. If Valentin doesn't get this fight to the ground, he's cooked.
Francisco Prado taking on Nikolay Vertin. Damn, I can't fucking pronounce that. He's just a Kazakhstani motherfucker. Let's just go with that. I'm gonna go with Prado. Nikolay looked like complete dog shit against Austin Vanderford. He made Austin Vanderford look like fucking... Like, he made him look like prime Bo Nickel. Like, bro just looked like Bo Nickel out there just taking him down and just started using the word I can't say, but let's just... Starts with a fruit. It rhymes with a fruit. We'll go with that. He just looked like complete dog shit, and plus his sportsmanlike behavior, of course, was unprofessional. I think Prado's gonna starch him. I'm gonna go with Francisco Prado taking him out in the second round.
Yeah, I'm surprised they allowed Varitnikov to be in the UFC after that whole Vanderford incident. He tried to hit him after the fight was over. But I agree. I have to go Prado here. Prado is younger, smaller. He's the former lightweight moving up. Probably both, whoever loses, should be cut. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. With our ass, I'm going to be honest. But Prado's a little bit less ass. I've seen him whip out the elbows in boxing combinations before as well. And he really fucked up Otman Zaitar. And even though Otman Zaitar's ass, and I realized that, but he listen, it was impressive to me. And I think against a guy like Varitnikov, who's not very technical, not very good on the ground or the feet, he's just kind of like a guy. That's it. Like, he's damn near a plumber at this point. Like, I really don't know why he's in the UFC. He's not terrible, but he's not really good anywhere either. So I think Prado is going to be able to outbox him on this in this fight. I think he's going to be able to go to the body and the head and land the elbows in close if he needs to. I just think, Prado needs to go forward. He's going to be the smaller guy in this fight. I do think he's much better, though. I think if he keeps like a forward pace, he's going to be able to find the shots he needs to. He could potentially TKO him in the second. Otherwise, Varitnikov is pretty big, and there's going to be a massive size advantage. And since Prado moved up to welterweight, it doesn't seem like he's had the best transition. Varitnikov is ass, and I'm going to trust Prado to get it done. I'm going to say 29-28 decision. Hard fought. This is a fight that should be lower on the card, but here we are. How about decision?
Interesting fight. Prado kind of got schooled a little bit in his last fight against Jake Matthews. It was a really good performance from Jake. He showed his boxing and his ability to just maintain range. Prado, to me, is a guy who really wants to be within, hooking range. He wants to get into a brawl, like a technical brawl damn near, where he really wants to showcase, his power punches. My concern for Prado is I do think he's the fighter with the more upside. I do think he's the more technical fighter. This is not his weight class. It's not. He's too small, in my mind, for 170. I don't think this is this is the right weight class for him, especially in a grapple heavy division like 170. He hasn't even experienced that yet necessarily. At least to the main focal point of a game plan is to want to get him to the ground. He hasn't really fought someone like that at 170 yet. My concern is the size disparity between him and Viketchanov. I think Viketchanov, I don't think he's the better fighter, but he is the bigger fighter, and this is his more natural weight class. But reluctantly, I'm going to go with Prado. I just don't think Viketchanov's going to be able to maintain range as good as Jake Matthews did. I don't think he's going to be able to land as effectively as Jake Matthews did. He's the bigger fighter. I do think he's going to grapple more in this fight. This fight, to me, is really predicated on can Prado walk into range and do what he wants to do? Can he not get pushed up against the fence? Can he defend takedowns? Can he just stay on his feet and impose his will? If he's able to do that, I think this is his fight to lose. I think he's the sharper boxer. But I am fearful of the size disparity between the two of them. I am tempted to go with Viketchanov, but reluctantly I'm going to go with a Prado decision win where he's able to inflict the bigger shots, land clean, and stay on his feet, defend takedowns, and get off the fence.
Marvin Vettori taking on Brendan All-In Allen. In Marvin's last fight, I went with him to beat Roman Dolidze. Unfortunately, he did not get the job done. But I want to say Roman Dolidze is a better opponent than Brendan Allen is. I think Brendan Allen is shit. I know this is in Louisiana. We have to take that into consideration. If it is a close decision, they're probably going to give it to Brendan. But I just don't think Brendan Allen is good. And I'm tired of thinking that I'm tired of hearing people thinking that he's an underrated fighter with underrated striking and all this and that and yada yada yada. I want to be different type of mumbo jumbo. I think Marvin Vettori is going to fuck him up. And plus, if Sean Strickland is finishing you, who is a volume striker, Marvin Vettori can do that to you. And I've seen Brendan Allen gas out in 3-round fights too. So I'm gonna go with Marvin Vettori. I think he's gonna cancel the wrestling out here. So Brendan's gonna have to strike, and I think that is where Brendan is going to fumble the bag, and he is going to get KO'd in front of his hometown, and he's gonna probably bring in his 3-year-old daughter who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, but likes to use him as a prop. She's finally gonna find out what happened to Dada. I'm gonna go with Marvin Vettori, 2nd round TKO, maybe a 3rd round TKO. I think Marvin's gonna put him into deep waters and get him to tire out, and I think that's where Marvin's just gonna repeatedly just start teeing off on him, and Brendan's gonna do what Brendan Allen does and quit against the fence and start doing that. We're gonna have a new Anthony Smith in town, is what I'm trying to say here. Short. I'm gonna keep it short and simple. I yapped for too long.
This is a tough fight. We have a vengeful Vettori in this one. Not only is he fighting as Op, his brother recently died, and he's going to come in with some extra oomph. Brendan Allen is, in my opinion, the superior striker. He has a deeper bag. I think, what's his name? Vettori might have better hands when he puts it together, but sometimes he makes retarded decisions. His IQ isn't very high. Like, in the Cannonier fight, he only threw jabs, pretty much, and, like, straight punches. And, like, leg kicks. And, like, he never differentiated from his game plan originally. And Brendan Allen, I don't see this being a grappling-heavy fight. I think Vettori's going to be able to neutralize the majority of Allen's takedowns and vice versa. I think Allen would be better off to not shoot over and over and over again like a retard and try to fight on the feet. But I think Brendan Allen's got the kicking advantage for sure in this fight. He can keep him at range, but hear what Mike's saying. And I could justify a Vettori TKO for sure. I could see it. But I think I am going to lean Brendan Allen in his hometown, being able to keep the range at the kicks and the jab, and just being the better fighter on the feet and having more tools, whereas Vettori might get caught in his ways of like a game plan that his coaches tell him and never differentiate within the fight and never make reads. And I think Brendan Allen is got a deeper bag, like I said, and I think that's going to make him victorious in his hometown. Even if the fight's close and it goes to a decision, you have to think they're going to give it to the Louisiana guy, especially up this high on a card. So I'm going to lean Brendan Allen, but it is close, and I'm cheering for Vettori, because I do not like Brendan Allen.
Yeah, it's a good fight in the middleweight division among these two top 15 middleweights. Both coming off a loss. Marvin Vettori coming to a loss against Roman Dolidze in the rematch. And Brendan Allen lost to Nasruddin Imavov in France. Brendan Allen in his home state of Louisiana. Marvin Vettori dealing with personal issues as he lost his brother. Rest in peace. Tough fight, but I'm biased in this one. I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori in the upset. Brendan Allen is, I do agree with Alex. I think he is the more well-rounded fighter on paper. I think he's got more options on the feet with the straighter punches, the reach, the kicks, knees. And I do think he's the more dangerous brand of grappler than Marvin Vettori. But I think style-wise, I think Vettori's durability and his takedown defense and overall grappling awareness will be able to neutralize in my opinion, the more prolific side of Brendan Allen's game, which is the grappling. I think that's where he does a lot of his best work. I think his striking, for a fighter who I think is a better grappler, isn't bad. I think he's very kick heavy. I think Vettori, he's fought the likes of Israel Adesanya twice. He's fought Robert Whittaker, who I rate way more higher in overall kickboxing. Even the likes of Apollo Costa, I think, is a better kickboxer than Brendan Allen. I think if he's able to take away kicking range, if he's able to defend the takedowns, I think he's got the better gas tank. I think he's got the better durability, and I think he's the better boxer. If he's able to take away the range of Brendan Allen, get up in his grill, get up in his face, I think he can push a pace that Brendan Allen can't match. So I'm going to go with the Italian and the upset. Again, I am biased, but in my mind, if he's able to just take away kicking range, if he's able to defend the takedowns, I think Vettori is going to melt Brendan Allen. So I'm going to go with a decision win in Louisiana. I could see a potential late TKO. I think Vettori, I am tempted to pick it because he definitely would like to KO Brendan Allen. I think Brendan Allen may be a better technical striker than Roman Dolidze, but there's no question in my mind Roman Dolidze is way more durable than Brendan Allen. He could take way more of a punch. He could take way more damage. I'll reach. Why not? Yeah, I'm going to go third round TKO Marvin Vettori. I think he wants this one. I think he's going to fight like it. I think he's going to be motivated. Yeah, I'm going to go with a third round TKO for Marvin Vettori where he just pushes a pace that Brendan Allen simply can't match.
Word.
Yeah.
Moving on. We got Vinicius Oliveira taking on Kyler Phillips. We're gonna, of course, leave all biasness aside. Yes, we had Vinicius on the show and all that, but I am going to still pick Vinicius, even if I did interview him, even if Tony will probably get into his later, but all biasness aside, I'm going to go with Vinicius Oliveira. I think he's going to take Kyler Phillips into deep waters. I think it's going to look like a similar fight, like how Vinicius has been fighting lately. I think he's going to push the pace, put his pressure forward, march forward, and not give a fuck about what Kyler Phillips throws. Kyler Phillips is good. I think this is going to be a tough matchup, but Kyler Phillips, I kind of gave up on Kyler Phillips. I used to believe in him even after the whole draw situation with, well, it wasn't a draw. He lost to what's his name still, but honestly, I just wanted to cope with the fact like, oh, that was just one bad loss, Of course, somebody's gonna have a one bad. Look at Makachev, look at Bilal, look at all these other guys that have lost to people they should be beaten, but they actually ended up being decent. Wasn't saying that Kyler was going to be champion, but I thought Kyler would have been decent, but his fight and he just, I don't know. His gas tank just doesn't impress me, and I think you need to have a great gas tank if you're going to fight a Vinicius Oliveira who is going to march forward, throw crazy shit at you, and you gotta have to expect the unexpected with this man. And I think he's going to pick apart Kyler Phillips. I could see this going to a decision, but I think I'm going to go with a third round TKO. I think he's just going to push the pace on him. Kyler Phillips will have a good first round, I feel like, but the second round is going to be where Kyler's starting to fatigue and Vinicius has found his reads. And in the third round, I think he's gonna get him with a knee to the body, and Kyler's gonna crumble.
Yeah, I also have to go with Vinicius here. I do think it'll be tough as well, especially early. Kyler Phillips is known to gas and fade as the fight goes on. He's had every opportunity to kind of improve that part of his game, and he still hasn't. He is very dangerous on the feet and the ground, but he gasses, and that's the problem. Whereas Vinicius, we've seen multiple times that he can go 3 rounds hard. And Vinicius is a very fun fighter. He makes every fight like a brawl. I do feel like he is a bit wild, and there could be times where Kyler pullback counters him and catches him with some good shit. But I think Vinicius can eat it. He's been shown multiple times that he's tough. He has cardio, and he can put a pace on these guys. And even though he is a bit wild, I think that can lead into him breaking Kyler Phillips even faster. So I think Kyler Phillips kind of wants to fight maybe too pretty, and he's not really known to throw down like that. It's an occasion like where he's winning, like the Pava fight. I think Vinicius is just a better fighter most of the time in this fight. I don't think Kyler Phillips is going to have success later into the fight. After Vinicius starts having success, I don't think Kyler will have any. I think it'll just be like a ball rolling downhill. Like once Vinicius starts going, it'll just keep going, and Kyler Phillips will continue breaking. I could see a TKO. If Vinicius puts a pace on him like I'm thinking, Kyler Phillips is going to gas hard. Yeah, fuck it. I'll go Vinicius 3rd-round TKO. I think Kyler Phillips is going to gas out even more than he's used to. I think Anita the Body's a good pick, Mike. I think he's really going to be sucking wind in the 3rd. I think the pace Vinicius is going to put on him is going to gas him out even more than he would be gassed out in like a Rob Font fight or something else like that. I think Vinicius is going to bring hell with him. We'll go Vinicius 3rd-round TKO.
It's a good fight. Is the prelim headliner?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes. This is the prelim headliner of UFC 318. I think this is a great fight in the bantamweight division. You have a guy on a 3-fight win streak, a surging contender in his own right, in Vinicius Oliveira. And call it bias, call it whatever you want. Yes, me and Mike did an interview with Vinicius, and I just think he's the better fighter, man. I liked Kyler Phillips' style. I think he was very dynamic, good athlete, good kicks, dangerous early, but I've always had concerns with his durability and his cardio, specifically his cardio. His gas tank isn't great. And I do understand we could be seeing a bit of a market overreaction in this fight because in his last fight, Kyler Phillips was a massive favorite over Rob Font. And we saw him basically gas himself out in the 1st round, wrestling very heavy against Rob Font. Rob Font is primarily a boxer, a strike-first type of fighter. I think anywhere this fight goes, I like Vinicius' chances. Literally anywhere in this fight. Kicking range. Maybe that's the one thing I'll give Kyler Phillips. He's got some good head kicks and body kicks and just kicks in general. But even there, I think Vinicius can compete. I think kicking, boxing, clinch, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, anywhere you name it, I think Vinicius is the better fighter. This isn't some kid. This is a 29-year-old fighter, 25 pro fights, 3-0 in the UFC with good wins, in my opinion. I think Ricky Simone is a better grappler than Kyler Phillips. I think Saeed Nurmagomedov is a better striker than Kyler Phillips and might be more dangerous than Kyler Phillips. And I saw Vinicius Oliveira beat these guys. Bernardo Sopaj wasn't a bad win either. Kyler's not bad. It's just he's running into a better fighter, in my opinion. I don't like the gas tank. I don't like the durability for Kyler. I think there's a breaking point with him. If you're picking Kyler, I think you have to think the 1st round he has to come out guns blazing. And I just don't think it's going to be enough, man. We interviewed Vinicius, and he said it himself. He thinks that he can wrestle in this fight. He hopes Kyler wants to strike. I think he could compete anywhere. And he specifically said 2nd round knockout. And I'm going to go with his words straight to the bank. I'm going with Vinicius Oliveira 2nd round TKO. I think literally anywhere in the fight. In the pocket, at range, grappling, I think he's better. 2nd round TKO. It could be ground and pound. It could be a counter shot. It could be a 1-2 down the pike. It could be a multitude of ways. I'm just going to take his word for it. I think Kyler Phillips comes out in that first round very urgent, needing to at least win the round, to at least coast one of the next 2 rounds in his mind. I think he's going to throw a lot of wild and dynamic strikes, a lot of head kicks, I'm thinking. Vinicius is going to be able to just kind of get out the way, use his footwork, close the distance. I think he's going to land leg kicks and body shots of his own, invest early to the gas tank of Kyler Phillips. I like Mike's prediction on the knee. I could definitely see that being a factor, whether it be in the clinch or a counter shot. I could definitely see that being a weapon here. Yeah, man, I think he's going to break Kyler Phillips. I think Vinicius is the truth. I think he has a chance to be the best current active Brazilian bantamweight in the division. Figgy's old. Aldo retired. Barcelos is old. Felipe Lima had his chance against Peyton Talbot. I think this is the Brazilian contender to look out for in the bantamweight division. Vinicius Oliveira, second round TKO.
Back. Moving on, we got the main card opener. Michael Johnson taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Excuse me. Once upon a time, I would have picked probably Michael Johnson, mainly because normally he does beat Daniel Zellhuber type of person. But I'm gonna stick with my pick with Daniel Zellhuber. I think Daniel Zellhuber is gonna chin him. But I wouldn't mind an underdog pick in Michael Johnson. There has been moments where Daniel Zellhuber hasn't impressed me. But I think Michael Johnson's gonna get the job done here. Not Michael Johnson. Daniel Zellhuber. I think Daniel Zellhuber is gonna get the job done by second round KO. I do think Michael Johnson's gonna have a moment in this fight. I think he is gonna look impressive in this fight, but I think there's just gonna be one moment where Daniel Zellhuber catches him on the chin out of nowhere and just pounces on him. I'm gonna go with second round TKO by Daniel Zellhuber. Heroin Ryan Garcia.
I think I'm going to have to go with Daniel Zellhuber here. I think Michael Johnson's just too old at this point. I don't know how old he is exactly, but he's almost 40, if not 40 already. I just can't really trust that. I think Zellhuber's, he still may be a little green, but I think he's got all the makings of a great fighter later down in his career. He's already pretty damn good right now. And I think this is like a level of a fighter like where Michael Johnson probably gets slept. Michael Johnson is going to strike with Zellhuber, and I think Zellhuber's going to be able to have the kicking advantage for sure, but I could see him probably knocking out Michael Johnson with a punch. I don't know if Michael Johnson's ever been knocked out with a kick. He did get flying kneed by Gaethje that one time. But Zellhuber's boxing isn't super impressive, but I could see him definitely kind of agging a Johnson after he made his read, whether it be a head kick or an elbow or a knee or a punch. I do think he'll knock out Michael Johnson at some point in this fight. I think Michael Johnson will give him a fight. I definitely think he's still got some fight left in him, and he's still decent. But he's just too old to be competing with guys like Zellhuber at this point. I think he'll get knocked out at some point. I'm going to say second or third round TKO for Zellhuber.
Yeah, I think this is nothing to hate on Michael Johnson, but I do think this is a bit of a layup of a matchup to an extent. Not saying that MJ's bad, but yeah, in this current form of his career, I just don't think this is the right fight for Daniel Zellhuber ranking-wise. I think this is a favorable matchup for him. I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber as well. I think he clearly has the kicking advantage, as Alex alluded to, being the longer, rangier fighter. Head kicks, body kicks, low kicks, you name it. Knees as well. Just low strikes from his lower appendages, I think, are going to be vital here in this fight. Michael Johnson, I think, is the better boxer. I think he's got better hand speed. And I think he's the better wrestler, too. I think if you're Michael Johnson, that's the fight to have. You want to box and wrestle in this fight, for me. If I were game planning a way to beat Zellhuber, I would close the kicking range, get within, an ability to box with him in the pocket and try to grapple as well. But I think Zellhuber is just gonna be ahead of one step ahead in a lot of the exchanges. I think he's going to be able to use his jab. I think he's going to be able to stay rangy. Just keep Michael Johnson guessing, whether it be low kicks, body kicks, head kicks, jabs, straight punches, knees. I think the full arsenal will be on display for Zellhuber in this matchup. I'll go with a third round TKO. I think Johnson could look decent early, first round. I expect him to want to... Honestly, Michael Johnson should wrestle, man. I really think he should wrestle in this fight. But he's probably, near 40, doesn't really want to do that. It's very taxing on the gas tank and just overall physically. So I'll go to Daniel Zellhuber third round TKO, where he just kind of wears down all of Michael Johnson from jabs to the face, leg kicks to the legs. His forearms are going to be hurt from blocking a lot of body kicks. Like, just a multitude of damage from Zellhuber cumulatively breaks him in the third round. I'll go via... I can see a leg kick, like a leg kick, just drops Johnson and they stop the fight. Maybe a leg kick TKO.
Dan 50K Ige taking on Patricio Pitbull. I'm gonna go with Dan Ige. I'm gonna go with a first round KO for Dan Ige. I think Patricio Pitbull is shit now. Age is playing a factor in this one too. Pitbull's just not. I don't know. I think it's starting to be like where there's going to be a time now where we're starting to realize that these Bellator guys aren't really as good as we thought. I think Danny Gay is going to knock him out in the first or maybe the second. If a random Chinese dude from Ryzen, not Chinese, Japanese, wherever the fuck, whatever the fuck he is, if he's able to knock you out with just a straight, Dan Ige is going to knock you completely the fuck out. Dan Ige is a dangerous matchup, a dangerous opponent, and I think he's going to knock him out in the first or maybe second. And that is my prediction. I think Dan Ige is going to... I think there's just ways where Dan Ige can chin him. Pitbull's chinny. I've seen guys like Anthony Pettis check hook him. Not Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis check hook him and drop him. And I've seen people like Chiro Zuka, whatever the fuck his fucking name is. That dude that I was just mentioning earlier was able to chin him too. And AJ McKee was able to rock him. I know Danny is not around the same height frame as AJ McKee, but you know what I mean. Pitbull is chinny, and I think Danny is going to catch him here.
Yeah, I think we all made the collective mistake of picking Pitbull in the fight against Yair. We made the mistake thinking he would actually do something, which he didn't. He didn't shoot takedowns nor punch. And against Dan Ige, I do expect him to throw more and fight more. But I think that'll honestly be to his detriment because Dan Ige's nasty in the pocket. And something I've been realizing lately is these Bellator guys, they're 90% of them aren't even on the level of bottom 15. And to be fair to Pitbull, he did get here too late, and we're getting an older version of Pitbull. At this point, he's going to come in against somebody who's the same frame as him, who's got more power. I actually think probably Ige is probably still taller than Pitbull is. I do favor Pitbull at the long-range fight in this. I think he's got the better kicks than Ige does, and he could probably fight at a longer range better than Ige. We just saw Ige find a way in on 6'2" Woodson and fucking find a way to TKO him. And if he can do that to Woodson, he can 100% do that to Pitbull. And man, I didn't like the way Pitbull looked. I lost all faith in him after that. I think Pitbull is going to come back and he's going to try to make a point. That last fight sucked. I'll make it up to the fans this time. And he's going to get slapped in round one like a firefight sort of fight. I think it'll be very Garbrandt Munoz-esque, where they just start throwing until somebody goes down. And Ige is the guy that I think is cleaner with his boxing and has more power and has the better chin. I think Pitbull's going to come out aggressive compared to how he came out against Yair, and it's going to be to his detriment. I think he'll be doing good, but I think Ige is just going to all of a sudden sleep him at some point in the first round or second round. I'm going to say first round. Ige, right hook KO, overhand KO.
It's a good fight. Alex said it best, man. We all made the mistake of picking Pitbull against Yair. In hindsight, he is the older fighter. I did expect him to grapple more in that fight. I was disappointed that he doesn't really focus on wrestling, at least out the gate in round one. He kind of stood at range and was just taking kicks from Yair, but that was then. This is now. In this particular matchup, it's funny. This matchup was my immediate first thought after Pitbull lost to Yair. I immediately thought, Ige, they'll probably give him that. If he would have won against Yair, it's a whole new conversation, a whole new ballpark, because as of this moment, I want to say Yair is number 3 in the rankings in the top 15. So if he would have beaten him, Pitbull is potentially one fight away from an Alexander Volkanovski fight. It's crazy how much of a shift can happen in one fight. And it's unfortunate, but I am going to probably sell my Pitbull stock as well. I thought he was going to be more smarter than Yair, try to grapple earlier on, but unfortunately he didn't pull the trigger quick enough and he got hurt in the process. Ige, he only loses to a certain brand of competition for the most part. He's losing to the likes of Lerone Murphy, Movsar Evloev, just top tier fighters in the featherweight division, and I think Pitbull may have came too late. Pause. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Dan Ige. Second round knockout. I think Pitbull is gonna try to grapple more earlier this fight, unlike he actually did in his last fight. I think he's gonna try to wrestle, try to get this fight to the ground, where he has, I think, a jiu-jitsu advantage over Dan Ige. I think that's probably the one advantage I give him in this fight. Maybe offensive wrestling as well, but it's not that significant. I think he's going to want to get this fight to the ground. I think Ige will get taken down, but he'll work his way back up, and he'll be more keen on just having his guard lowered, being more aware of the takedown threat as well as the leg kicks of Pitbull. Take away the kicks from him, close the distance. I think he does that in the second round. He finds a big shot. I'm thinking with probably like a brawl-like exchange. He just gets the better of it. Rear counter hook, and he's out of there. Second round TKO for 50K Ige. I think he gets a knockout bonus in Louisiana, and he keeps it moving. Good momentum.
Kevin Holland taking on Daniel Rodriguez. To be honest with you, I don't know why the fuck this is a feature fight. Kevin Holland is, I said this off camera. Kevin Holland's just that second grade retard that is repeatedly failing the second grade, and the school is just feeling bad for him and want to save his future and just give him layups. And D-Rod is that layup. Don't know why this is a feature fight. This fight's shit. D-Rod shit. Kevin Holland shit. I'm gonna go with a club and sub. If he doesn't finish D-Rod in the first or second, he's just obviously a horrible can crusher at that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland club and sub it, and all the fucking Kevin Holland meat munchers are just gonna start throbbing and saying, "Oh, he could still make a run for the title, guys." Even though we've all rode this train before. But yeah, enough of me yapping. I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland club and sub first round.
Yeah, I think D-Rod is out of his league here. I think D-Rod's kind of mid. We've seen that lately. He's kind of he's just punk now. Like, he's not very good. He lost his status as like a ranked member of the rankings, and he's ass now. But Holland is still like kind of like fringe ranked, in and out of the rankings. He's got the range advantage. He's got the grappling advantage. And if Neil Magny can sub you, I think Kevin Holland can as well. I think it'll be a club and sub as well, similar to like what Mike said. I think it'll be a Darce choke. First or second round. Holland's got the kicking advantage for sure. And I think D-Rod is just kind of too old at this point. And I think Holland's still young enough, like in his prime-ish years. I think he'll be able to pretty much piece up D-Rod and kind of do what he needs to do. I think he'll have the kicking advantage for sure. And at some point, he'll just hurt him and arse choke him, probably the end of the first or beginning of the second. I'm going to say that in the first. Darce choke, club and sub. Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kevin Holland as well. I think D-Rod is, on paper, the more technical boxer and maybe has better output with his hands, but outside of that, I think Kevin Holland has virtually every other thing else that's an advantage in this fight. Durability, reach, power, finishing upside, I would say. Kicking range, just everything. Yeah, I think he has an advantage pretty much everywhere in the fight. I think he could take a punch better. I think he's got the reach, he's got the power, he's got knees, he's got kicks. Definitely got the jiu-jitsu advantage. I don't see Kevin Holland offensively wrestling, but in the scenario that the fight does somehow get to the ground, whether he's on bottom, top, or indifferent, I think he has an advantage there. I could see a club and sub. I could see a knockout. I could see a decision. I could see a multitude of ways of Kevin Holland winning this fight. I think he's got the advantage everywhere. He's only losing to a certain caliber of competition for the most part. He's losing to the likes of Renier de Ridder, Hamzat, Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, I know we don't really think very highly of Kevin Holland, but he is only losing to the guys, like, for the most part. Kevin Holland's a good barometer of where you are in your career as a fighter, in my opinion. If he beats you, probably not going to fight for a title. If you beat him, you might fight for a title. That seems to be the type of fighter that Kevin Holland is, and I don't see Daniel Rodriguez fighting for a title anytime soon. So
That's Derek Brunson.
yeah, you know, I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland by. It's just like I don't know if D-Rod really gonna push a pace where he's gonna get clipped. I could just see him getting outpointed. I could see that happening as well, but. No, I'll go with Alex and Mike. I'll go with a. Y'all had first round sub. I'll go second round sub. I think D-Rod's gonna try to pump the jab, trying to impose his will with the boxing. He'll try to smother Kevin Holland, and then I think Kevin Holland's just gonna kick his legs, kick his body. Use straight punches. They'll go tit for tat. I think the volume might be D-Rod, but the bigger punches might be Holland. I can see that. And then I think going into round two, I think Kevin Holland is eventually he's gonna pressure forward more on D-Rod. He's gonna hurt D-Rod, and then I think he's gonna latch up his signature Darce. So I'll go with a second round submission. Yeah.
The co-main event of the evening. We've got Paulo Costa Boachinia taking on Roman Kopylov. Originally, I was going to go with Roman Kopylov, but I'm going to go with Paulo Costa, man. I think Paulo Costa is very dangerous when he fights a guy. I mean, when he fights against somebody when his career is on the line. And that's a very hungry Paulo Costa, and that's what I'm trying to say. Paulo Costa fights way better when he's when he gets hungry for a win, and I think he's due for one. I like what he's been saying in these interviews. He's pretty much said that he didn't like how his last two performances went, where he either shielded up against Strickland, didn't do jack shit in that fight, or in that Whitaker fight, he didn't push up the pace that he wanted to, like how he did in his old ways against Romero and against all these up-and-comers when he was sleeping them. Plus, I wasn't too impressed by Roman Kopylov's performance. I know it was a great fight against Chris Curtis, but, bro, Paulo Costa is no Chris Curtis. And this is not a young up and comer in Roman Kopylov. Roman Kopylov is actually around the same age as Paulo Costa, just younger by 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a day, might add. Enough of me yapping. I'm gonna go with the Paulo Costa decision, maybe a late round TKO. I could see it looking like the Uriah Hall fight, where Roman Kopylov gasses out and Paulo Costa clips him later. I think Paulo Costa's going to get a win here. I think he's due for one, and I think it's about time that we give some respect to Paulo Costa. He only loses to good names too. He lost to Strickland, former champ. Robert Whittaker, former champ. Marvin Vettori was iffy. Izzy, former champ. Those are like what, 3 former champs? It's not that bad. Not that bad of losses that he's had. And I don't think I like Roman Kopylov, but I don't think he's those name calibers that is going to beat a Paulo Costa.
I have to agree with Mike. I think Paulo Costa is going to win as well. I also was originally going to pick Roman Kopylov, but I think, Kopylov, if you're getting clipped as much as you are by Chris Curtis, who's kind of more of a sit back and counter-strike you, Costa's going to put real pressure on you, and he's going to, he's fighting damn near for his career at this point, and I definitely think he has the motivation to pretty much go for the win. And I think he's got a good style, too, to beat him. And Kopylov's good, but as Mike alluded to, or he just said, he's the same age as Costa, damn near. So, no, they are the same age. Costa has a lot more UFC experience. He's fought the likes of people like Israel Adesanya. Whereas Kopylov's, has a history early in his career getting fucked up by, Albert Duraev. Only recently has Kopylov become somebody who's, a viable contender. Paulo Costa, however, he's kind of been there and done that. And although he's been inactive, pulled out a lot, and lost when he has shown up, he's made it really close with people like Robert Whittaker. And I kind of value that over, going to war with Chris Curtis, who, is now a welterweight and is more single shot heavy than they are combination. I think Costa's going to mix it up. He's actually a really good kicker when he wants to kick. And I think he should in this fight. He hurts people with kicks when he kicks, whether it be Whittaker or Vettori. He rocks the shit out of people with body kicks, head kicks, leg kicks. Those are some of Costa's nastiest weapons. And, the power, he seems to have in the punches that he doesn't have in actuality is real in his kicks. And I think if he uses his kicks, he could really incapacitate Kopylov even. If I could see him breaking an arm or something like that. With that, I don't think the kicking battle is so in favor of Kopylov as you might think. I think Kopylov is going to be fighting somebody who's better than Chris Curtis. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris Curtis and Anthony Hernandez are the only top fighters he's faced. And Chris Curtis is probably the best striker that he's faced. I think this fight is just going to be too much. Costa's going to give him the works. I'm going to say Costa by decision. I'm going to say 29-28. A good fight and a close fight. But Costa shows his experience. And he's probably... Kopylov wears damage really badly, so I think Costa's going to have a cleaner face than Kopylov will at the end of the fight. So I'm going to go Costa decision.
Tough fight in the middleweight division. Co-main event of the evening. Paulo Costa, a fighter who once had so much promise. The guy a lot of people were picking to beat and to throw in Israel Adesanya. He's he's in a tough time in his career right now. This is a guy who used to be undefeated, and now he's got over 4 or 5 losses in his career. Fighting a guy who's surging in his career, Roman Kopylov. He seems to have made improvements in his game, and he's been able to rack up some wins of his own. I've picked Costa in a couple of his fights in the midst of this losing streak, specifically the Robert Whittaker fight. I picked him because I figured early on he'll be more dangerous. He has power. He could defend takedowns, conventional takedowns, that is, for the most part. And he could be an imposing presence in the cage. He hurt Robert Whittaker in that fight with a spinning heel kick. Costa, as Alex alluded to, has some really devastating high kicks to the head and body kicks as well. But he didn't leg kick Robert Whittaker really as much as I expected him to. In fact, leg kick specifically is something I've always wanted Costa to do a lot more in fights, and it feels like he never does. And I bring that up because he's fighting a guy in Roma Kopylov who is a very kick-heavy style. Robert Whittaker got rocked in round 1, and he proceeded to actually throw more leg kicks at Costa than Costa threw back at him. I think Costa's got more experience. He's only losing to a certain caliber of opponent. He's losing to Prime Israel Adesanya. He's losing to Robert Whittaker. He's losing to Sean Strickland. He's losing to Marvin Vettori. You know, these are guys I consider, above the upper echelon in the middleweight division. Marvin Vettori may not have the skill of those guys, but he got the durability. That's something that Marvin Vettori has over a lot of people, and that's why I picked him in this card, because I think he's tough as nails, and he's very hard to kill, if kill at all. If Jared Cannonier couldn't kill him, I don't see Brandon Allen doing it. Sorry, not sorry. But going back to this fight, I was really on the fence on this fight, because I do recognize Roman Kopylov's momentum, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. If we're being brutally honest, I do think Cesar Almeida is a better striker than Paulo Costa, and he has a similar frame, and he has pretty good power. I think Cesar Almeida is a better striker than Paulo Costa. Whittaker, why wouldn't I pick him against Roman Kopylov? I just said all those reasons to pick against Costa, but I'm going to go against my better judgment. He's only losing to Vettori, Strickland, Prime Izzy, Whittaker. I don't think Roman Kopylov's these guys. I want to see Costa leg kick. I've been screaming it for the last couple of fights. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but I'd like to see some leg kicks to take away the footwork of his opponent, so it's easier to hit them up top with his boxing, but he doesn't seem to do it. I wouldn't rule out the idea of him maybe even wrestling in this fight. I just think this is a do-or-die fight for Paulo Costa, man. I'll put that on the line. If Paulo Costa doesn't win this fight, I can't pick against him. I can't pick him ever again. I'm only picking him right now because I picked him against Robert Whittaker. So, yeah, I'll go Paulo Costa by decision.
Moving on, we got the main event of the evening. Dustin Poirier taking on Max Holloway in the trilogy for the BMF title. The last dance for Dustin Poirier. I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier. I think Dustin Poirier is going to win this fight. I think he's going to have the clean sweep here against Max Holloway in his retirement fight. Max Holloway, I know he may have looked good against Justin Gaethje, but Dustin is not Justin Gaethje. He's not gonna lean there like a punching bag and let Max combinize on him like Gaethje did. I think Dustin is going to move out the way in certain exchanges. I think he's going to... I don't know. I just think Dustin is... Everybody that's picking Max lately, from what I've been hearing, think this is going to be like the Gaethje fight where Max is going to be able to do whatever the fuck he wants. Max is just very hittable to me. And... I know Dustin ain't no Ilya. I know Dustin ain't no Volk. But he's not no Korean Zombie. He's not no Arnold Allen. He's not no Justin Gaethje. He's not gonna let Max be Max in those fights. And that's how he won his last two fights. I know the first fight, Max was hella young. It was his debut fight. And Dustin had slightly more experience in that coming into the UFC. But the second fight, I feel like people give Max too much of an excuse. Yes, it was on short notice. Yes, Max was fat that fight. But Dustin was coming off a huge layoff into that fight against Max Holloway. While Max Holloway just came back off a dominant display for, I think it was against... Hold up, let me check. Apology real quick. I want to say it was the Ortega fight. He decided to fight Max. Yeah, Brian Ortega. He decided to fight Brian Ortega after taking some time off. Right after he beat Ortega, he took the Dustin fight on short notice. But it was also a short notice fight for Dustin because Dustin wasn't guaranteed the title shot. Originally, they were going to do Max versus Tony Ferguson, but Tony Ferguson did that crazy shit with his wife and kids, saying that his wife was a witch, throwing the holy water, the whole 9 yards. But anyways, enough of talking about all that. I'm just yapping. I know that. Mike, shut the fuck up. Explain why you're picking Dustin Poirier. I got you. Max just gets hit too much, and he's coming off a KO loss. And I just don't trust Max Holloway anymore. Max, like how everybody thinks. I mean, Max is good, but he gets hit too much. And I know that's an obvious thing too, but Korean Zombie was able to tag him up, and that was a washed old Korean Zombie. And I think Dustin could add points into these fights. I think he could fix the puzzles in on what Korean Zombie was able to land, which was counter strikes against Max. But he's not going to swing in the fences like a retard like Korean Zombie. He's going to actually try to win this fight. I don't know. I feel like people saying like, "Oh, Dustin's got a chip on his shoulder too." I don't feel that way. I think Dustin is knowing this is the last dance. I need to go out with a win. I want this. I want at least a belt. Wasn't able to get his undisputed belt, but he wants to leave with something at least. And I think he will leave with the BMF belt and retire. I think it's going to go like how it went last time, a 48-47 decision where Dustin is able to get his licks in this fight, and I think it's going to come into the 5th round, and Dustin's going to show that he still has left in the tank. And I think it's going to go by that 5th round, and I think Dustin's going to take it. Or I could see him taking out Max, because before the Ilya fight, or if people want to mention the Gaethje fight, Max, the person that was closest to knocking out Max was Dustin in that second fight. He had the same counter shot as Ilya had in that fight when Ilya rocked him. Like I said, obviously power is different, boxing is different, age is different, but styles make fights. And enough of me yapping. I'm gonna go with Dustin Poirier winning in 48-47. Like I said, retires in his hometown.
This is a close fight. This is a good fight. Almost a shoe-in for a fight of the night as long as it goes 5 rounds. I do believe it goes 5 rounds. I think it'll be a 5-round decision, a war, a good fight between both men. I'm going to be picking Max Holloway, and I will tell you why. I think Dustin Poirier is good, and he got 2 wins over him at this point. Part of the reason is, of course, this is a retirement fight. Dustin is coming prepared. He is motivated to do it. But the pressure of Louisiana, him being as old as he's ever been, ready, like pretty much 1 foot out the door, ready to go out. Like, I definitely think he is still motivated, but something has to be said for knowing this is it. Like, that adds another pressure to you. This is his last chance to win another belt. Max Holloway, somebody he knows well, somebody he's beaten twice. But the second time they meet up, Max Holloway comes in out of shape, up a weight class. So he was not a lightweight at that time like he was when he fought Gaethje. He was a fat featherweight, pretty much. He was fat, he had a belly, and he was not a lightweight at all. He was a featherweight that moved up on short notice. And he was able to win the last 2 rounds against Dustin. And Max Holloway, I think, this time, all those things about Poirier, like I said, the added pressures, him being older. And I think Holloway now is going to be fresher. He's going to be a real lightweight, somebody who moved up to lightweight the proper way now. I think his chin is going to be refreshed more so than it was at featherweight. And I know he got knocked out by Ilya, and you have to wonder about his confidence going in, because Max is somebody who holds his confidence in his chin. And now that he got knocked out for the first time, you have to wonder how he's dealing with that mentally. I think in this sort of fight, you have to already come to the terms that you're going to be hit, right? This is going to be a firefight between two people that hit each other. And even though we got knocked out, I don't think Max is going to lose a lot. I think he's still going to be the Max Holloway that we know. Lately, he has been fighting more tactically anyway, and I think that'll serve him well in a fight against Poirier. I think, the oblique kicks are a big move in this fight that'll serve Holloway well. The knees, the kicks in general, I think are a tool that Poirier doesn't use as well or as often as Max Holloway does. I think Holloway is the superior cardio, and I think now that he fights more tactically, he can kind of let this aggressive Holloway go when he wants to, and more in moments where he feels like it's more safe too, rather than fighting aggressive the whole fight throughout. And I think he does that better now with his kicks. I think the obliques, like I said, are a huge weapon. The teeps, the head kicks are all tools that he could use to keep Poirier's arms in certain locations, whether he wants them low or high. And I think Poirier, he's going to be coming forward throwing these, Sure, he throws some kicks for sure, but really it's a leg kick and that's about it. He can't get his hip high enough to throw like anything else. Poirier is going to come at you and he's going to box. And Holloway is going to box for the most part as well, but he has a layered game of kicks that he uses in different ways. And the oblique kick is the one that really stands out to me, stuff that'll stop Dustin's momentum and hit him in places where he's weak, like the knees and the stomach. I think those are places where he can kind of sap at Dustin, and whereas Dustin isn't going to be doing that as much. Dustin's investment shots are body shots, and he has to be close to Max to do that, where there's potential not only for him to be clipped as well, but you have to get close to do that. You have to wear down your opponent enough in order to get to a place where you can rip. You got to get in close. You got to be in a position where your opponent is going to be throwing back, or at least has to be aware of what you're doing. Whereas Holloway can kind of make those investment shots at range, stomping the knee out, throwing teeps up. I hear that Dustin is, he's definitely motivated. I've seen the photos. He's definitely in shape, and he's definitely taking this serious. But I think Holloway is too. I think Holloway is the same Holloway that we always know, and going to show that. Like I said, you got to worry about Holloway's chin. You have to. But I think Dustin with 1 foot out the door, it doesn't give me a lot of pride and hope into him right now either. And all these pressures that Dustin's facing, his hometown, all these things, the BMF title, his last shot, all this shit. I think Max, it's more laissez-faire. Like, he can lose this fight. He's already down 2-0. He loses this fight here and he has a great career and he can fight other people like an Oliveira. I think Max Holloway is more invested, or Dustin is more invested than he should be in some aspects of this fight. I think he's got his head kind of in different locations. He's thinking about his family, his life after retirement, this whole New Orleans shit. I think Dustin's mind is honestly more split than Max's. And Max, he has been talking and coping a lot about the Ilya fight. But we have Dustin, who's pretty much ready to hang up the gloves and give this up. Like, you think he's not thinking about that? And, like, all this stuff that comes after. Like, I think Dustin's mind is, pretty much spinning right now. And I definitely think he's motivated and ready, but, like, I think Max Holloway's head is in a better place than Dustin's is, even with maybe the coping of Ilya and the confidence. But, honestly, coping with Ilya kind of makes me feel like maybe he won't lose confidence in his chin then. You know what I mean? Like, if he's still coping about all this shit, like, maybe he'll still go out there and be the same Max and fight confident, and I think he will. And I'm going to pick Max Holloway. I think, you take even though Dustin Poirier was on pretty much short notice as well, Max Holloway was not a lightweight, and he was not in shape either, whereas Poirier was, and he was ready to go. And this time, I think that 48-47 goes the other way around. I think Max Holloway is the guy who's in favor by time right now. I think he's the one that's going to be in shape, more proper for this fight. I think his head is in a better space. And I think this time, with an old Dustin, it's 48-47 is Max Holloway's to win. And I'm going to go Max Holloway, close decision, but Max Holloway gets the upset in New Orleans.
Can y'all hear me? Oh, shit. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, alright. Main event of the evening, UFC 318 for the BMF title. reigning BMF champion Max Blessed Holloway, coming off his victory from UFC 300 against Justin Gaethje. He did just get knocked out, but that was at featherweight against someone who I think is potentially the GOAT of the sport in Ilia Topuria. But that's a conversation for another day. As we go to the main event in UFC 318, Dustin Poirier's final fight, allegedly final fight. Something that has crossed my mind going into this matchup was this alleged rumor that we all are under the impression that this is Poirier's final fight. In the scenario that he were to beat Max Holloway and have the BMF title, I could see the UFC throwing a bag at him and giving him an Ilia Topuria title shot, and they can promo that for the lightweight belt, for the BMF, and they can call it the battle for best boxer in the UFC. Dustin Poirier would be 3-0 against Max Holloway. He would have just won the BMF title. He'd be 1-1 with Justin Gaethje. He'd be 2-1. He'd be, in my opinion, 1-1 with McGregor, but for the official record, he'd be 2-1 against McGregor. He's beaten all the primary strikers for the most part. If he were to 3-0 Holloway, the only other guy that's done that in the UFC has been Alexander Volkanovski, and that's a guy who I hold to a very high standard. Just food for thought. That is a theory that has been gaining traction and circulating very highly. I could see that happening, man. If Poirier were to win, I could see them throwing a bag at him and giving him an Ilia Topuria title shot, and they could promo it as the battle for best boxer in the UFC, for the BMF, for 155, and that would truly be his last fight. As for this fight, I definitely think we're going to get a motivated Dustin Poirier in Louisiana. He's going to die on his shield. I think he's going to give it his all. It's a tough fight. I think he's got the power advantage. At this present moment, I would actually give him the durability advantage. Max Holloway, a big thing in his career has been his granite chin. You could trust that Holloway would be there for 5 rounds. You could trust that he'll be at the end of the fight. He wouldn't get finished. That's a big thing in Max Holloway fights. His durability, and he weaponizes his cardio. Dustin Poirier is a guy who gets better as the fight progresses. He loves swimming in deep waters. He loves trench warfare. I do think the second time they fought for the interim lightweight championship that Max Holloway did not properly bulk up to 155, and that played a factor. He wasn't ready for the power and the speed of 155. He wasn't prepared for the power of Poirier. And you could see that visibly in the second fight. The damage he sustained, the way he was reacting to shots. Mike is right. Before Ilia Topuria knocked out Max Holloway, the closest guy to do it, in my opinion, was Dustin Poirier in their second fight. I think since that fight, I think Max Holloway has gotten better than Dustin Poirier. Since that fight, Dustin Poirier has lost to Khabib, beat Dan Hooker, beat McGregor, lost to Charles, beat Chandler, lost to Gaethje, and beat Benoit Saint-Denis, and lost to Islam. Since that fight, Holloway lost 3 against Volk. He lost to Topuria. He beat Yair. He beat Calvin Kattar. He beat Arnold Allen. He beat Korean Zombie. Both these guys really only lose to the best of the best in their respective weight classes for the most part, man. Max only loses to prime Alexander Volkanovski, and Dustin only loses to the guy who holds the title at 155, or or another interim champion in Justin Gaethje for the most part. It's a really tough fight. I think Max Holloway needs to use kicks, knees, and elbows. I think it would be in his best interest to not just box with Dustin Poirier. If they are just going to throw hands, I think that's playing right into Poirier's hands. No pun intended. I think Poirier's got better boxing technicality. He's got more power. And I think I trust his chin right now more than a Max Holloway. That's a big, like I said earlier, it's a big thing in Max Holloway fights, his durability and the way he weaponizes his cardio. I don't know where he is coming off of his first career knockout loss. I don't want to discount it though because I think Ilia Topuria is the best boxer. He's the most accurate and sharp in his combinations and overall punches. It's a really tough fight. Man, it's tough. Man, it's tough. Man, it's a tough fight. I think Max Holloway needs to kick. He needs to use knees. He needs to be more of the rangier fighter in this matchup. I think Poirier needs to close the distance, throw combinations. I think head kicks, low kicks, body kicks, teeps, just like Alex said, Max Holloway should really implement that heavily into this game plan. It's not a tough fight. Really a coin flip. It really is a coin flip. But I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Max Holloway. I think he's properly bulked up to 155. I think he's the more versatile striker. I think Poirier's the better boxer. I think Holloway's got more in his arsenal. I think he needs to use that. I think he needs to weaponize the cardio. I don't think Poirier has gotten better since that fight. His wins are good in that time span, though. He has good wins in that. He has Connor twice, Chandler, Hooker, Benoit Saint Denis. I just don't think Max Holloway gets swept twice. I can understand Volk sweeping him because I rate Volk very highly, and I do rate Dustin Poirier very highly as well, but I rate Volk higher. I'm going to go with a Max Holloway. I'll go decision. I could see a late TKO, but I'm going to go with a Max Holloway decision where we would have seen the evolution of his striking. We would have seen improvements in his range management, his defense, his ability to take shots. I think he's going to be able to take shots better with going back to 155. I think Max Holloway, for the most part, really only loses to the best of the best. Ilia Topuria, Alexander Volkanovski, prime Conor McGregor, prime Dustin Poirier. I don't think Dustin Poirier is in his prime. You could argue the same thing with Holloway, but I think from an IQ perspective, in terms of where he's at in his career, I think even though he is coming off his first knockout loss, which doesn't really make sense what I'm about to say, I think he's at his mental peak in terms of his experience, his instincts, and just his overall understanding of MMA. I think we're going to see an evolved Max Holloway, a guy who's not just going to pressure box. I think we're going to see kicks, knees, the full arsenal of Max Holloway on display. I don't see Dustin Poirier wrestling, and even if he does, I think that's going to tire him more than help him in this fight. I think the weight cut affected him in the knockout loss to Ilia Topuria, but I also think Ilia Topuria is the best boxer in the sport. So combine those two things, and that was a recipe for disaster. That's why I actually predicted that fight pretty perfectly. I actually said third round knockout in that fight. But I'm going to go Max Holloway in a decision win in New Orleans. Super close fight, and like I said earlier, if Dustin does somehow win, calling it now, they will give him an offer he cannot deny, an Ilia Topuria title shot. They'll promo it as best boxer in UFC for the belt and the BMF, subsequently both. And Ilia Topuria would have annihilated yet another legend in the sport in Max Holloway. Dustin Poirier. If Dustin wins, I see that happening like ASAP. So just putting that out there as well. But I'll go Max Holloway decision. Well, those are our UFC 318 predictions. We really appreciate you guys for staying and watching the video. Make sure to go like and subscribe. Anything else you guys want to say, feel free, and let the people know.
Shout out to Dustin Poirier. He had a very good career. Normally we don't like doing the glaze out here in our prediction videos or just in general, but I think it is a valid glaze to give Dustin Poirier. Dude was a very good fighter, probably one of the greatest fighters to not win a belt, but shout out to him. For him to get this last fight in his hometown and to have the opportunity to fight is amazing. Dude has made me look smart a couple times when he was counted out. Hopefully he makes me smart in this one. You know, this is a tough fight. I might look stupid at the end. Who knows? But, you know, something's telling me something's going to be good here, win or lose for Dustin Poirier. And I know we're going to get a good show on Saturday. And, yeah, like I said, shout out Dustin Poirier. Had a great career, great fights, giving us a great fight all the time. And honestly, not ready to see him throw in the towel, but I understand why. Why not go out in your hometown? Why not have this moment?
Shout out to John Sinat.
Yeah, shout out to John Sinat, too.
All right.
Happy retirement, Dustin.